Welcome to SUSD Spotlight, your go-to source for all things happening within the district. Whether it's celebrating student and staff achievements, delving into trending education topics, or highlighting inspiring human interest stories, we've got you covered. Join us as we illuminate the incredible endeavors taking place in our schools and forge connections within our community. Get ready to be informed, inspired, and engaged as we embark on this journey together, spotlighting the extraordinary in SUSD. Welcome to another edition of SUSD Spotlight, and today we're really excited to talk about Cherokee Elementary School celebrating their 50th year of serving our community. And in studio we have Principal Walt Chantler and former Principal Jan Young, who would be known to others as Jan Howard. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So Walt, let's start by giving us a little bit of a history of your time at Cherokee Elementary School, when you got hired, how long you've been there, points of pride, whatever you think people should know about
There's
Cherokee.
a lot that's happened at Cherokee in the last few years. When we finish up this year, it'll be my 15th year at Cherokee.
Oh, wow.
And I was able to move on over to Cherokee because Jan retired and kind of left the door open for me. Prior to coming to Cherokee, I was at a school called Junie Elementary School, which is no longer in play. Junie is now known as Redfield. And Redfield is the product of a Zuni and Aztec merger that occurred. And when you merge two schools, you've got one too many principals. So for 1 year, Principal Jim Selgo and I did co-principalship, and we gave up an assistant principal so that both communities had someone to attach themselves to. And the understanding was that after that 1 year, one of us had to go. And Jan's retirement was coming around, and I heard wonderful things about Cherokee. So they went to the Cherokee community, asked them about, hey, what attributes do you want in your next leader? And I guess I foot the bill. So they invited me to come over and meet the staff, and the rest is history. So 15 years at the end of this year, and
15's a good long run, and I know that Cherokee has an amazing reputation. Recently you celebrated National Blue Ribbon recognition. And a number of other letter grades. So maybe you can talk about what it takes to get that recognition, and then talk about the foundation that was laid before you got there. And we'll turn to Jan and see what she can tell us.
You bet. I mean, it starts with just a wonderful staff. I have an amazing staff, and a lot of them are still there from Jan's day. I've got one teacher that after this year will be there for 31 years.
Wow.
If you can believe that.
That's amazing.
My secretary has been there now going on 20. And her daughter was a student there and is now one of my fourth grade teachers. Teacher turnaround at Cherokee doesn't happen a lot. So we have the right people in the right place, and we have a super supportive community. So the community does a lot to help our school, and I can't thank them enough for all the support that they've given us that allows us to compete at the level we need to in North Scottsdale. We compete against a lot of heavy-hitting schools, and we're able to knock their socks off in most occasions. We did earn the National Blue Ribbon Schools Award in 2022. We also got it in 1988, so this is the second time that we've done that. We've also been awarded the Arizona Education Foundation A+ School of Excellence Award 4 times, 3 times under my leadership, so I'm pretty proud of that. We always rank very well on any of the ranking articles, like the one from U.S. News and World Report. Last year, we were ranked number 4 out of 1,677 schools, and we're waiting for the rankings to come out for this current year, but I'll bet we do pretty well.
So Jan, when did you start as principal at Cherokee?
I started in 2003. I had just come from Kokopah, where I was an assistant principal. So I was there for several years with middle schoolers, and before that I did teach at Kokopah, and before that I was actually a student at Kokopah, and did go to Chaparral High School, went through that whole little complex.
Right.
Legacy.
But yes, it's very interesting because a lot of people in this district are very connected. That is something that doesn't seem to change in this community, which is really, really neat and very unique.
I agree, yes.
But I did interview for the job because there was an opening, and I got hired, and it was exciting. It was really exciting. It was something that was a dream that I really wanted to have come true because my mother had been a principal there, and I thought, what a neat thing, what a legacy that would be for her. And she had retired, well, not retired, but she had left Cherokee in 1985. So this is, time apart, but just a very neat thing. Everything is very connected. at that school.
It says a lot about Cherokee also to have leaders that are there for so long. That sort of continuity of leadership is likely a huge indication of why you're so successful.
I think, and Walt is extremely successful, and I think one of the reasons that we are this way is because we're so close, in the sense that the community is really helpful, really wants to succeed, really does believe in their children. And so do the teachers. Obviously, Walt does too, because he's done such a phenomenal job. But that's all the building blocks that school has, which is really amazing to me. You know, my last day at that school before he came in, because we had to, you know, the last day for our principal, who's retiring, of course, is the end of June. And he had come by to bring his things in, and I was bringing my things out. We're kind of like trading spots. I cried all the way home. I literally cried. It's not that you're not excited to retire, but it was so connected to those teachers and to those students, children, babies. They're just little, they're tiny guys. And those parents, it was very hard to leave.
Well, you talk about it sort of feeling like family.
Yes.
What I hear you describing.
Yes.
And Walt, for you, this is a choice you made for your family too. I mean, you're a parent in addition to principal.
Yes.
How do you make that choice? I'm guessing it wasn't only based on convenience.
No, it definitely wasn't, because we are open enrolled at the school, so we make a little bit of extra effort to get our kids there. My oldest daughter, Tegan, she's now at Chaparral High School as a sophomore.
I can't believe
And she
that.
went through starting pre-K
Because Walt
all the
looks
way
like
through.
He's 12.
You're too kind. And my youngest daughter, Brooklyn, she's in first grade at Cherokee.
Yeah,
The choice
it's
to
amazing.
come to Cherokee after the first year was pretty easy, because Jan set it up perfectly. When she said that we've got a strong community there, she is not kidding. And I quickly learned that entire community is all about educating those kids, and will do anything to make sure those kids have the best education possible. And I wanted that for my own kids.
And then the teachers are the secret sauce.
Yes.
But I had the opportunity to visit and see Cherokee, how it used to be, and Cherokee, how it is now in terms of the facilities.
Oh, it's different.
So let's talk about that a little bit
It's
in terms of.
crazy, yes. Cherokee, the way it was first built, when it first opened, with the idea of the way those rooms were shaped, in very triangles and octagons. It was very, very interesting shapes, very, very popular during that time period in architecture. It really was. There were no windows, because that's also a safety thing. I mean, even in those days. Of course, there were no walls or fences and things, because we didn't have those concerns in those days. But it's very hard for a teacher to decorate a room. It's very hard to get 30 desks in there. It's very, very difficult if your school is growing and try to figure out those shapes. So that was always a challenge for everybody. And there were like endless hallways in between rooms that I used to like walk around, and it was like, where does this hallway go? It's very like a maze. It was like a maze. But at one time, Cherokee was a K-8. So they did have all their sports teams and competed against powerful Kokopah in those days, because that school was a big powerhouse for Cherokee, because Cherokee was new. But when I got there, same thing. We were just K-5. We didn't have preschool yet.
Okay.
That hadn't started. We did have special ed programs in the school. But when everything was torn down, and I came to visit that one day when we broke ground, I could not believe the plans when Walt showed me the plans. Unbelievable, and how the library was going to be and media center. I think it's phenomenal. It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful piece of real
I mean,
estate
a lot
with
of these
epic
schools,
views.
it's unbelievable. Well, look at those views.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable what they did.
And the combination of indoor-outdoor learning spaces,
Is-
the kinds of things that take advantage
yes.
of our environment.
And why
here.
not?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that? And so I think anyone would be proud to walk on that campus.
A beautiful facility, but the
Yes.
magic happens in the classrooms
And it's always
and in that
the classroom.
library.
It's always in a classroom, because you can teach inside any room if you're a great teacher. You can teach in the tent. doesn't matter. But it does help if you have facilities and you have things to do for your students that are up to date to keep them in competition with the rest of the world. You have to these days.
Let's talk about the library and that special feature that stands out.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we do have a pretty special feature in the library. I would probably say we're the only school in the nation that has a full-size school bus inside the library.
Isn't that great?
Why?
And it's there for an actual reason. So United for Libraries is an organization that has a program called the Literary Landmark Program. The Literary Landmark, it basically pays respect to authors who made a big impact on the world that have since deceased. Barbara Park is the author that we celebrate at Cherokee. She wrote the Junie B. Jones series of books, and the very first book in that series was Junie B. Jones and the Stupid Smelly Bus. So when Richard Park, Barbara's husband, was asked, where should we consider putting a literary landmark in the state of Arizona, he said it has to be Cherokee Elementary School. And the reason he said that is because she drew inspiration in that neighborhood to write that first book. And the story goes is she came upon a student who was crying, and the student was sitting on a curb and basically told her that, I missed that stupid smelly bus. So the child obviously didn't catch the bus in time. So she said, well, hop on in the car, I'll take you home, and the rest is kind of history. So she thought about that and wrote the book. She took some, artistic nuance to it because the student was actually a male student, and then she turned it into a female student. And when we have a full circle moment happening, let me tell you about that. We had a kindergarten roundup last year, and there was a woman in the audience as we were telling the story of how the Junie B. Jones book kind of got ignited, and she raised her hand and said, Mr. Chantler, let me stop you. My husband was the young man that Barbara Park walked upon and
so
said,
cool.
Why are you crying?
Neat.
And now we're going to bring our kid here. So,
Oh
so
my gosh.
Junie
That's
B.
very
Jones is actually a male, and now the
very
daughter is
Yeah.
attending our school.
I had not
So
heard
it's
that
really
before,
good.
but I can only imagine how having that school bus
Yes.
in that library and
Yeah.
making those connections must inspire students to be readers, to be writers, to think about
Just exciting.
what the potential is.
It's
So
exciting.
Cherokee is a literary landmark and the only one in the state of Arizona. And when we rebuilt the school, we met with the architects and the builders, and we talked about how can we make this literary landmark come alive. And someone said, oh, we should put a mural of the bus and do some things around the campus that are something that you'd see in the Junie B. Jones books. And someone said, wouldn't it be cool if we had an actual school bus? And then someone else raised their hand and said, we do have a bus. It threw a rod, and do you want it? And of course we wanted it.
Yeah.
So we were
We
able
built the building around the bus.
we
Yes.
did. We have photographs of the walls up around the library with no windows yet, and then
Yeah.
backing in the bus, covering it with drapes.
Isn't that
And
the neatest thing
then they
ever?
came in and did the inside after the build was a little further along.
Very
It's
cool.
just
But
magic.
the shoes
It's all
finally
magic.
match the belt.
Yeah.
And we've got a facility we can be proud of.
So
nice.
50 years is quite the legacy, and we
Yes.
reviewed some of it. But now, what do the next 50 years hold? I mean, what is on the horizon?
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
that's
Retirement.
retirement for me. I'm going to follow in Jan's footsteps, and this is my victory
you'll have
lap year this
grandchildren,
year.
and I'll just get very busy.
But I think that the Cherokee community, because of the desire to continue to want to do better, will continue to do better. I know that they plan on continuing to apply to be A+ for the School of Excellence program. We've talked about a STEM or STEAM focus for the school moving forward. But whatever that community does, I know that they'll do it together, and they'll have the complete support.
Yeah. Yes.
of the
I have no doubt that'll be true.
It's very
So you
magical.
mentioned retirement. We know Walt is doing his victory lap this year, and there appears to be life after retirement. Jan, what did you do when you retired?
After retirement? Well, I had nothing to do. And in the summertime, I was looking out a window in my kitchen, and I noticed squirrels. And I thought, this is wrong. I need to have something to do. So, because you know what? You can't have that much downtime. Because when you're a principal, you hit that pavement running every day before you've parked your car. It's like amazing. And so all of a sudden, you're retired and you're like, well, now I'm counting leaves falling off a tree. This is not good. I need to do something. So I was like, what am I going to do with myself? There's so many projects that I want to do and hobbies that I want to do, but I had to fill up the day. So I went to Laguna Elementary School.
Okay.
I was a playground aide. I was a cafeteria aide. I was a kindergarten aide. I taught RTI, reading for children. And people said, I cannot believe a principal is going to be a cafeteria aide. And I said, why not? I said, I have a better understanding of it. I should have done it earlier. I think we all need to do this. Then we'll understand what everybody's talking about when they're upset, rather than thinking, I'm, one thinking zone. I should be doing so. I was out in the playground, so I did that for several years. I loved it.
I think this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Walt, can we count on you to do the
yes.
same thing? I think you
Crossing
follow
guards.
Jen to Cherokee. We have lots of
So
opportunities.
many
Here's the funny
opportunities.
thing.
Paris.
My
Crossing
friend,
guard right up my alley.
Hey, let me tell you, it's actually, that is a hard job, the crossing guard thing. But people used to say, I can't believe you're doing that. I mean, you have this degree, you're doing this, you've had all these years. I said, why not? If I can help another principal, if I can be in spots that they can't find a person to hire, because those are really hard spots sometimes to find a person, has to be the right person, I thought, sure, I will do it. It was great for me. I got to be with children. I got to be with colleagues of mine that I had known before. I got to help another principal. I mean, it was wonderful.
It's a true gift.
It was
I appreciate you
great.
doing that.
So I did that for a very long time until I had grandkids, and then I became the grandma,
That's understandable.
and I was babysitting all the time. So yeah.
At the end of each of our podcasts, I like to ask our guests to think about a teacher or person in your career trajectory that made a difference in your life. We like to elevate and celebrate the profession, and want to give each of you an opportunity to give a shout out to someone that has had a positive influence in your career trajectory.
I've got a couple people. My 6th grade teacher, Ken Henson, he's the one that I always was jealous of. I thought he had the most amazing life. He loved being with his students, and I wanted a lifestyle like his, and that's why I became a teacher. And then beyond that, when I first became an administrator, Margaret Cerna, who is currently my boss, was my mentor and hired me. So back in 2000, she gave a 28-year-old kid a job as an assistant principal, and she has mentored me and has helped me do what I needed to do to become a principal eventually. And so I'm really thankful for Margaret Cerna and her leadership and everything she's done for me.
Thank you, Walt. And you, Jen?
And one last thing about Margaret. She and I were sorority sisters.
That's right. She mentions that.
ASU. So, yeah. So it's kind of, see how this world is small?
It is very
If
small.
you want it to be small, it can be small. I think that lots of people inspired me to be a teacher. But the first people I can think of are my parents, because my father was a professor at ASU. My mother was a teacher in the district at the time. And that was back in the days of Yavapai, where she started in this district, and I was a kindergartner. And until we moved, and things changed, and she changed schools. But those two people, both my parents, mother and father, were everything to me. And we did so much talking at the dinner table about education. That's what we talked about. We talked about school, and we talked about positives and negatives. I wanted to be a teacher so badly my whole entire life. And I think that isn't uncommon with people that want to be teachers.
Right.
You pretty much know that calling early. You just can feel it. And it isn't about money. It's about helping people. That's what you're about, but I want to make somebody else's life better. And so I would say my parents.
What a powerful story. I am so grateful that both of you were willing to come in and celebrate Cherokee's 50th anniversary and tell your stories. Thank you for your contribution to the future generations of kids who are going to continue to give back and make a difference in the world. We're so grateful.
Thank you
so
for having
much.
us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for asking.
And we hope all of our listeners enjoyed this edition of SUSD Spotlight. And we hope that you will log on to susd.org/spotlight and pitch us some ideas for future episodes.